Hello! Are you ready for a fresh start? Are you just tired of your bad habits dragging you down? Did you know that approximately 45% of our everyday behaviors is a result of habits? Yep. Our brain spends most of its energy following through on programming that we have implemented into our life, also known as habits. Today, we're digging into the Atomic Habits book by James Clear. We'll briefly review what are habits, how they matter in choosing happy for living our life, and I'll also share my key takeaways from reading the book. I hope this episode will motivate you to ditch those toxic habits and choose happy by implementing healthy habits one at a time into your life. And yes, it is possible, and I'm going to show you how in today's episode. Well, technically, James Clear, the author, is going to show you how, as I give you a brief review of his Atomic Habits book and approach. Come on in. It's time to choose happy. Today is a new day, and you have a choice. Do you want to stop the negative thoughts and live your life free of the limiting stories and fear that stands in your way of living a happy life? If you answered yes, you're in the right place. Hi, welcome to the Choose Happy with Marie show. I am so happy you're here. My name is Marie. I'm a happiness coach and author of the Choose Happy affirmation cards. For the majority of my life, I didn't feel I deserved to live a happy life due to past trauma that had happened to my family. So how does someone who didn't feel worthy of being happy finally live a happy life? Well, I learned the power of choosing happy. In 2020, I felt called to share what I learned with others. I authored affirmations to rewrite the negative thoughts that were a constant cycle in my head. And I published those affirmations that has become the Choose Happy affirmation card deck. It is now over 600 card decks in circulation internationally. You are not your negative thoughts. You deserve to be happy today. In this podcast, you will learn 3 things. The first, you will learn positive self-talk using affirmations aligned with healthy habits. Number 2, tangible ideas to overcome the limiting beliefs. And number 3, everyday living solutions to cultivate a positive mindset and live a happy life. It's time to get off the hamster wheel of everyday living and intentionally living our life, one Choose Happy choice at a time. Come on in. We are choosing happy. Hello. How are you? I hope you're doing well and you're having a nice summer so far. I hope it's nice and warm where you are. It is warm where I am, and I'm just loving summer. Summer is my favorite season, and I am just loving it. I was just speaking to a listener about an hour ago, and I love connecting with you. So if you want to reach out via email and you'd like to have like a 15-minute chat with me, give me a shout out and I'll book some time. It is only so much I can do on the show, but when I have the opportunity to work one-on-one with you, I'm able to share a lot more than what I would share publicly on the air. So if that's something you would like, definitely do connect with me to my email address, and it will be linked into the show notes. So for today, yes. And on my last trip, I was in Punta Cana in February with my husband. Had a great time. And on this vacation, I actually had a to-do list of various books that I was going to read on the beach so that I could, take that knowledge and share it with you on the show. And one of the books that I've read a few times before, so this is a repeat read when I was reading it, is the Atomic Habits book by James Clear. It is an awesome book with a lot of good knowledge, good wisdom. And, at times it can feel a little overwhelming while I was reading it because there is so many good nuggets. So I kind of tried to figure out how I could put it in a digestible form for today's show, just to kind of give you a little bit of a flavor of what the book is about in case you've looked at it, at the bookstore or on Amazon and you're wondering, should I get the book? Should I not get the book? look at this episode today as just giving you an overview of the book, and I highly recommend it. It's a great read. So that's the purpose of today's show. So what you'll learn today, well, we'll briefly review what are habits, because that's a really core part of choosing happy. And we're also going to review the book, and I'll share with you my key takeaways from what I took away while I was reading it on the beach. And that's always a great place to read a book if you like the beach. I'll also really focus in about how what James is teaching in the Atomic Habits book, how it can help stop negative thinking. I hope this episode will, motivate you to start improving those negative habits that are in your life, and if you like to read or listen to the audiobook of the Atomic Habits book. All right, then, let's dig in. Number 1, habits. Did I just trigger negativity by saying that word? Especially since I said it 3 times. All right, let's start defining what is a habit according to the author, James Clear. He defines the word habit as a behavior that has been repeated enough times to be automatic. Just as a side note, did you know our brains like habits? Habits are programming that tells our brain how we are to behave or handle in a situation. It often happens by either, previous experiences we've had and or what we've accepted to happen into our lives. James uses the term atomic habit in his book as a little habit that is part of a larger system. He begins the book talking about small changes and how even a 1% improvement can compound over time and become something of significance in our lives. The problem happens is when we decide that we want these big changes to happen in our life and to happen almost immediately. You know what I'm talking about? I.e. New Year resolutions. Let's just go there. How we put one out there and then whoop, not even a day later, we can't keep that New Year resolution. In other words, we're setting ourselves up to not succeed in making the changes because it is so big. In his book, James outlines 4 steps you can take to either implement a good habit or to get rid of a bad habit. And he refers to a framework called the 4 laws of behavior change to explain the approach. I'll briefly review in today's show the 4 laws to introduce you to these ideas. And if you want to learn more about them, you can check out the book. Before I do go into reviewing the book, I just want to take a pause here and talk about why habits are a core foundational piece for choosing happy in our everyday life. Healthy daily habits bring positivity into our life, whether they are mental or physical habits. Every choice we make either takes us towards living a positive life or a negative one. Choices become habits. And as I mentioned earlier, our brain likes habits. It's pre-programming to tell us what to do next so that it doesn't require much effort. So yes, if we want to change toxic habits, yes, it's going to require getting a little uncomfortable. It's going to require effort. Choosing happy does require effort. It requires intentional effort. You have to take action. Making choices that will align our life the way we want it to be instead of what society tells us it is to be. Choosing happy is about being authentic. It's about being the best version of ourselves. So I hope I have somewhat convinced you to improve your habits. Okay, let's dig into the book. All right, so Atomic Habits is the name of the book by James Clear. It is one of the most popular books, nonfiction and self-improvement category, having sold over $15 million of sales. It is a New York Times bestseller, published in 2018. It is approximately, let me see here, I've got my book over here. It is 264 pages. Let me see, approximately. And the book has sold over 15 million copies worldwide. And it's been translated into more than 50 languages. That is like so cool. It's described as a comprehensive guide on how to change our habits using a 1% better everyday approach. He talks about habits like the compound interest of self-improvement. So if you're familiar with finances and compound interest, when we invest in something, whether, it's a guaranteed type product or a stock or something, over time, money can grow based on the idea of compound interest. Well, he's comparing habits just like that. So when we make tiny changes on a daily basis, they actually can result in a big impact. You don't necessarily see it the day that you implement it, but when you do a 1% change every day, something starts changing and it works on itself. And then you look back and you see that the progress you've made, and like the progress you've made from your start here point. Each habit we have contributes to the life we are living today. They each have their own power to either give us a healthy life or a toxic life. The author refers to atomic habits as a regular practice or routine that is small and easy to do, yet powerful. He introduces the reader to something that he calls the habit loop. He defines the habit loop as the fundamental parts that helps us understand what a habit is, how it works, and how to improve it. And he refers to 4 things: the cue, C-U-E, the craving, the reward, and the response. The cue triggers a craving, which motivates a response, which then provides a reward, which satisfies the craving and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. Together, these 4 steps form a neurological feedback loop. So you have the cue, the craving, the response, the reward, and that ultimately allows you to create atomic habits. So that's that habit loop, those 4 different elements. James tells us that we influence this habit loop by following a framework that he calls the 4 laws of behavior change, a set of rules to guide the building of good habits and breaking those bad habits. So what are the 4 laws of behavior change that he mentions in his book? So to create a good habit, these are the 4 laws. The first law, which is the cue that I just mentioned, make it obvious. How do you do that? You become aware of your current habits, and then you design an environment that makes good habits obvious and visible. Number 2, that's the craving. You make it attractive. You bundle the habits so that you want to implement that change into your life. Number 3, which is the response, you make it easy. The change that you want to make, he recommends, should take no more than 2 minutes or less. And number 4, which is the reward, make it satisfying. You could use a habit tracker, kind of like to start a streak that you won't want to break. If anyone's used a habit tracker, it's just where you have like a box for every day, and then you color it in when you do that habit, when you take that action, and then you want to continue coloring it. You don't want to see a break in that streak. So that can be a motivator for some of us. So that's what he recommends is the 4 laws for implementing a good habit. And if we were to just do something like just a really easy example, one thing that I was trying to bring into my life was drinking more water daily. To try to get me to drink more water, I do try to carry a water bottle all day long, but I wanted to get started as soon as I got out of bed. So law number 1, which is the cue, I needed to become aware of current habits that I had in my life. So, for example, I enjoy having a cup of coffee in the morning. So I thought, there's an opportunity to add a glass of water. Law number 2, which is the craving. I tricked myself. This is at the beginning. I do this now. I do have this habit implemented in my life now, but that's what I had to do. I tricked myself that I could not have that cup of coffee until I had a glass of water. And I've shared this tip on the show in a previous episode. I actually did that. I tricked myself. And then law number 3, which is the response. I take the response as he was saying, let me just see my notes here, is that I should take no more than 2 minutes. So I would take no more than 2 minutes to drink that glass of water. I didn't gulp it down, but close enough. The trick was I would not let myself have the cup of coffee, which was right beside the glass of water, until I drank the water. I know that may sound really silly. And the other thing I did, which is law number 4, which he was saying, the reward. So I did keep a tracker on a calendar. I did that habit tracker type thing. And I wanted to see the consistency day after day. Didn't want to break that streak. So that's what I did. That's how I implemented drinking more water daily, or at least in the morning, improving my water intake by 8 ounces, because I tricked myself to drink a glass of water when I had my morning beverage. So if you're looking to bring in more water intake into your day, that's a great trick to do. But you have to be self-disciplined, though. You have to not drink the coffee or the tea before your water. So that's an example of how to, bring in a good habit by following the 4 laws that he recommends. Now, he also recommends how to break a bad habit. And it's the same thing as the 4 that I just mentioned: the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward, but you reverse it. So law number 1, which is the cue, where we would normally make it visible. If you don't want the bad habit, you need to make it invisible. The law number 2, which is the craving, you need to make it unattractive. And law number 3, which is the response, you need to make it difficult. And law number 4, the reward, you need to make it unsatisfying. So the author explains how the laws can be created to create the healthy habits and to break the bad ones. Just as an example of breaking a bad habit, and again, there's so many bad habits that we have in our life, I may share just a little one from me, is I love potato chips. Yep, I love every flavor. There's just something about it. It's just one of my things that I really, really enjoy. But, too many potato chips is not a good thing. So if I were to try to break this habit, and I have tried, but I do enjoy potato chips, and I've been better, not eating so many. But if I wanted to do that, if I wanted to break the habit of not eating potato chips, so law number 1, which is the cue about making it invisible, well, chips just don't enter my house. I just don't bring it into my house, and I only bring it in if I'm expecting company or there's a reason, backyard barbecue and we're having some snacks. Then that's the only time the chips come into the house. And law number 2, the craving, how to make it unattractive. Well, I could buy, no name brand potato chips are not necessarily as good as the brand name potato chips, even though I like all of them. And law number 3, the response, making it difficult. So if I don't have any potato chips in the house, I have to go to the store to go get them. So I either have to drive, bike, walk. So it's not as convenient to eat the potato chips. And then law number 4 about, make it unsatisfying. Well, I realize that my body is more satisfied when I eat a healthier, savory snack. And so I try to have healthier snacks in the house. So that's an example of how you can take a bad habit and you can follow the 4 laws that he recommends in the book and change it. So it is possible. So I mentioned, earlier in the show that I was going to share with you how when I was reading the book and what James is sharing in the Atomic Habits book and how it can help stop negative thinking. Negative thoughts compound the same way as he was referring to earlier. Whether it's negative thoughts about ourselves or thoughts towards others, it's conditioning our brain to have this habit of thinking negatively. And when we have this habit instilled in our brain, the brain starts to look for negative situations whether they're real or perceived real. We'll find situations to validate the negative thought loop or habit. When we're in this mode of thinking, we're in the classic glass half empty perspective, where all we can see is the negativity that is appearing in our life. How can you take the negative thoughts, habits that you may have and break free from it using his approach? You can start with implementing good habits that build the foundation for choosing happy. That includes good habits such as healthy eating, getting enough sleep, daily exercise, taking the time to be grateful daily for what is in your life today. You can be exposed to positivity, and I'm referring to healthy positivity, not toxic positivity. Whether it be reading positive, inspiring books, listening to inspiring podcasts such as this one, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, etc. Those are good habits that help to build the foundation for choosing happy. The Atomic Habits book has a lot of good information in it, as I mentioned when I started the show. It definitely, when I first read it, it definitely opened my eyes to teach me how to build better habits in my life. I have the book and I will look to it when I am wanting to improve a habit in my life. I will look to it to remind me how to do it, the 4-step formula. There is a lot more information in the book, but I didn't want to make this show too long today. So I encourage you, if you want to learn a little bit more about habits and how to put good habits in your life and how to change the bad ones, it's an excellent read. I do want to share with you one more key takeaway from the book that I really found was really, really helpful. And it's something called the 2-minute rule. You know, when he was mentioning that it shouldn't take more than 2 minutes when you want to start pivoting from a bad habit to a good habit. And when he says, when you start a new habit, if it takes more than 2 minutes, your mind will start finding reasons why you can't do what you want to do. It really will. And I'm sure you can relate to that if you think back to, other times in your life when you tried to make a change in your life and it was so big or would require so much effort and you just didn't follow through. That's why it's really important that 1% daily change to make in our life. Going from 0 to 100 is not realistic. Going from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 2 and continuing with that, well, after 30 days, after 60 days, there is a change when you compare it to your start here point. So absolutely. Who do I recommend the book for? I recommend it to anyone who's looking to make changes in their life. Absolutely. If you really want to learn like the academic side of things as to how a habit is created, it's an awesome read. So definitely recommend that. And you know how much I love leaving you with quotes. I'll give you a quote from the book from page 22 that really touched me, so I wanted to share that with you. All right, here we go. All big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. But as that decision is repeated, a habit sprouts and grows stronger. Roots entrench themselves and branches grow. The task of breaking a bad habit is like uprooting a powerful oak within us. And the task of building a good habit is like cultivating a delicate flower one day at a time. That's from the Atomic Habits book, page 22. If you are looking to improve your morning routine habits, do check out the free Choose Happy Morning Routine Guide. That has the bonus affirmations. It has 5 affirmations from the Choose Happy Affirmations card deck. So if you're looking to try affirmations and you're wanting to improve your morning routine, those are 2 excellent resources you can start with, and the link is in the show notes. Remember, how you start your day does impact how you live your life that day. So do give yourself the gift of a good morning routine. Wishing you a wonderful week. Choosing happy. Cheers. I hope today's episode empowered you to choose happy as you live your upcoming week. If so, please take a minute and share this episode with a family or friend who could benefit from it. I'd also love it if you could take 30 seconds and leave a review on your podcast app. Just scroll down and you'll see the space to leave a review. Doing this helps the show be found by others who are also looking to break free from negative thoughts and live a happy life. Remember to sign up to become a Choose Happy member to receive free resources as they become available. Link is in the show notes. Thank you for listening. Take good care and see you next week.